the clerk's department, along with the city annual listings and elections. We did receive a communication from the clerk this morning, but I think this is a matter that they're going to have to deal with the administration. I would just take the current budget for both these items as is, and it'll be up to the clerk and the director of finance to figure out the ends of it. There is a bit of guidance from the finance director, given that there is this communication that we might be have some foresight and not cut this budget, given that there might be a need for more money down the line. But I say, if you feel like there's an item in here that should be less than what it is, I'd say go ahead and do it. Propose it. This is our one time at the bite of the apple, and then we could figure out the rest later. So, Mr. Clerk, if you'd like to go, what page is the clerk's budget on?
He's on page 57.
56, 57, 58
All right, so if we can start on page
through
56.
61. So
So
56 through 61.
Page 56 is
And 56 is the big roll-up, right?
right, the big one, the 57 is
So starting at 57. Here you go, Mr. Jones.
Evening, Mr. Clerk.
Good evening.
Why don't we start on page 57
Yes, sir.
and 58, okay? Indicating on page 58 the number of people, there's a city clerk, assistant city clerk.
My apologies, Counsel, I'm having trouble hearing you. I don't know if,
Hearing me?
I don't know if your microphone was on.
There. Is that better?
Much better. Thank you.
I'm reading here, there's the, under the, on page 58, we're talking about how many people work there? The city clerk, assistant city clerk, and 2 senior clerks, so there's 4 total, that's correct?
2 senior clerks, yes, assistant clerk and city clerk, correct.
Right, okay. Now, going back to page 57, I did notice that under the advertising portion of it, there was approved in 2013, 20,500, and their recommendation is 10,000. That's quite a drop, $10,500 for
Right.
advertising. Is that correct?
Well, that was one of the area concerns that I had communicated to the chair as well as to the administration and to the finance director on review this evening. My recommendation originally was for $18,000 to cover advertising through City Council for city ordinances. The pace I'm going at right now, as of today, I've expended about $13,300. And through significant efforts to secure savings through alternative advertising as much as possible, as many papers that would basically cut us a break. The 20,000, I think the highest we ever hit in the last 3 years was about 21,000 in a year for advertising ordinances to be a public hearing. We're able to pare that down, like I said, down to 13,000. A mid-figure might be appropriate, about 15,000, to be sure that the council does not find a lack of funding for its city ordinances to be published at public hearing. The 10,000 figure is just certainly insufficient. I've addressed the matter, again, briefly with the finance director and with the economic development director, who suggested that the matter would be addressed.
So this is a matter between yourself and the administration?
At this point, because it's an amount that would have to be increased.
If I may just comment, Counselor, this line item had 12,000 expended in FY11, 7,000 expended in FY12, and then only $6,700 so far this year. So that's why we thought 10,000 would be approximately correct. But apparently there's a number of things that he's alerted us to that he's going to be advertising next year that he hasn't had in the past. So, we'll have to deal with it next year, but that's the reason why we we put 10,000 because it was kind of in line with his historical expenditures.
Well, in looking at what the clerk dropped off here, it looks like there are other areas in here too that are going to be adjusted, at least to be talked about. Is that correct?
Yes, in the clerk's memo that we received this afternoon, there was also some, on the election side, there's some other shortfalls that he's identified from what his funding level is versus what his request is.
Well,
The
would it
clerk
be-
is not alone in not getting his requests. It just so happens, however, that with the clerk's request, particularly for elections, it's mandated. We can't really change it. But again, when we looked at his historical expenditures, we thought we could get away with reducing some of his line items. But it turns out, particularly in the election side, there's maintenance of the machines that the state paid for in the prior year, and this year it's a local election, we're gonna have to do it. So that's the reason why he needs more next year than he has in the last few years.
Well,
So we'll have to address that.
No, I understand that, but if there's other areas in here that's going to require an adjustment of some way, or rather from what the budget shows, is it best just to stay away from this right now? 'Cause,
Yeah,
I
my
mean-
recommendation is, obviously, we've already made some cuts to this department. My recommendation would have the councilors be very careful before they cut it further and put us more in the hole for next year.
Well, I don't have any further questions on this.
Anybody else have any questions on this? No new bodies for the clerk, right?
No, sir. Except for the summer help through Workforce Investment Board.
Annual listings? $11,000, and this is not to do with the elections, right? This is,
Well, it tangentially, it's the initiation of what has to do with developing the voting list. It's a census.
yeah,
It seems to be in line. I looked at it again tonight. We spent about $5,400 to send out a mail census. The big cut is at the $3,000 postage. That more was likely used as a reserve in case we needed more money to send out additional census forms. It appears that the amounts are in line, and I think I can work with that as it stands.
Councilors, any other questions for that?
Nope.
Anything else for the clerk? All right. I think you're all set, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, councilors. Good evening.
We have this intergovernmental MRPC, Mr. Anello.
That's the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission. There's an assessment for the member communities, and that's our assessment, and I don't believe it went up.
Yeah, 168. It breaks it all out after that. We don't pay it all into the
It's the
regional transit?
Merrimack Regional Planning Commission, I'm sorry.
We don't pay anything into the Regional Transit Authority?
That's, we get assessed through the cherry sheet.
Okay.
This is a payment, this is not a state assessment, it's a Merrimack Valley Regional Planning Commission assessment. And I was correct, it has not increased. It's been $24,639 last year, and they're requesting the same amount this year.
How many members on the Merrimack Regional Planning Commission that are from Lawrence? If you don't know the answer, that's okay. we can-
I don't.
we get a-
Mr. Blanchett would probably know.
You get an email or communication to the Economic Development Director to get, to Mr. Blanchett, to see if he can give us the current, membership.
Or even on their website, I bet we
And
could
for
get the
Lawrence, and what's
information.
Lawrence's perception, Lawrence's seat count on that? Councilors, any questions on that matter? Wow, ain't that something? Well, that brings to close the hearing part of this process. I think that, at this point, we usually take about 20 minutes, half an hour to get our notes together and then come back after that, so I'd love to entertain a motion for recess.
So
And
moved.
if we decide that doesn't have to be that long, it'll be great.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You guys have it.